Cyberpunk 2077 just turned 2 months old, and I'm sure at this point, many of you have probably played through the game, beaten it in one avenue or another, and perhaps even started it off on a totally new character. But during that same time, a ton of progress and advancement has been made in the form of the modding scene for Cyberpunk 2077. And we now sit at a point where we are fast approaching nearly 2,000 mod releases in that 2-month span. But like many games, Cyberpunk 2077 in many ways finds itself almost as a Wild West of mods. New things are being discovered each and every week, and literally hundreds of mods are coming out each and every week, and it's hard to keep track of what you should be downloading. So in this video, what I'm going to highlight to you are probably the 10 best mods that you're going to want to download just for a solid playthrough. Mods that aren't so much experimental, but really some of the best choices you'll have right now to address some of the problems with the game and even add in some new features that were otherwise not present, with a couple actually fixing some underlying problems with the game. Although, before we do jump into that, I do want to share a message from today's video sponsor. Are you interested in checking out one of the most original and interesting PvE and PvP based strategy games available right now? Well, Brutal Age Horde Invasion will allow you to forge your own tribe with cities and outposts all around the map and push your border against global competitors, all along the way trying to become a legendary Warchief yourself. And you could use my link in the video description to download Brutal Age totally for free on your mobile device right now. My favorite part about Brutal Age is the capturing of those core strategy mechanics. You'll be able to build up and expand your territory, upgrading buildings and making core development decisions, all along the way choosing from a variety of troops to recruit and train, where you can go to war against some of the local creatures or even against players around the world. But even if you've already played Brutal Age, the new updates keep adding more and more to the game. One of the most recent updates adding in new types of units for you to research and train. Just by unlocking the level 6 outposts, you can get some of those tier 6 unit types. But also buildings can now be a higher level than ever before. As an example, the Stronghold now goes all the way up to level 30 instead of just the normal 25. So using my link in the video description, you could download Brutal Age right now totally for free, but the deal gets even sweeter as after you sign up and make your way over to the Chief Invitation bar, you could use my code in the description to receive a chest worth over $200 right now. Just first, make sure you get your Stronghold to level 4 to unlock this ability. Looking back at Cyberpunk 2077, the first mod I want to highlight that's kind of a cop-out answer in a way is Cyber Engine tweaks. I say this is a cop-out answer because many of the other mods in this video literally require this mod to be installed to work, as one half of this mod is a back-end framework, adding in functionality for other mods to build off of, but also is an invaluable tool just for actually playing the game and has a lot of other features and functionality that you may as well be aware of since you're probably going to be downloading it. Right at the bat, it has several settings that will help you improve performance, being able to turn off NPCs altogether, as well as some other tweaks as the name does suggest, but the biggest forward-facing feature for users is that console. In the past, Cyberpunk 2077 had its own built-in console, but with an update, CD Projekt Red actually removed it. So now this is kind of the definitive and de facto console mod available for all of us, and it does basically everything a console in a game could do. You could do things like add money to your character, actually teleport to different locations, this being nearly every location in the world as long as you actually know the right console commands, but even some more practical things like making some of your equipped items legendary, something that otherwise you kind of have to rely on RNG to do, giving yourself one of each vehicle, or even some odd things that are just in the game, like adding rocket boots to your character to give you a much slower fall, or even making fingers friendly again if you punched him. This console can be extremely powerful, and one of the best tandem mods with this is the categorized all-in-one command list, which provides itself as a great summary of nearly all of the console commands available right now. It's not quite comprehensive, but it's a great starting kit to give you the ability to do almost everything you'll want to. So though that's great, it also does require quite a bit of work and effort from you. A different mod that will really upgrade and improve your game, but really requires you to do nothing except download it, is Enhanced Police. The police in Cyberpunk, of course, need a lot of work, and although this mod doesn't fix them entirely, and it still does have some room for improvement in the future, it is without a doubt, at least in my eyes, the best police mod out right now. As what this mod will do are two fundamental things. One, it'll make it so police spawn further away from you. You've you've seen those clips online, somebody does something to get wanted in Cyberpunk and a cop literally spawns 5 feet away from them, even though that shouldn't really be possible. Well, this mod will actually make it so it's no longer 5 feet, but typically a range of a couple of blocks. So the cops will still be aggroed coming at you and they still will spawn out of thin air, but it's so far away that you probably won't see it, and it just isn't nearly as obvious, making the whole experience actually feel a lot more immersive. Though now actually take some time to work their way over to you and typically kind of come in a wave system as a result. But also the other massive part of this mod is it actually makes it so vehicles will spawn with police in them, which will chase you or just park and come to attack you. This making it so if you get a wanted level in Cyberpunk 2077 now, the cops will spawn farther away, making them feel more natural when they stumble upon you, but also vehicles will come and chase you just automatically. The more stars you get seems to warrant a larger response from the number of vehicles that do spawn, and although it's not perfect, in particular with some of the spawning of these vehicles and how long they chase you for, it is way better than what's there by default, aka literally nothing, just a cop spawning 5 feet away from you. You can now actually have some pretty intense little police chases, especially in some of the denser parts of Night City, and it makes interactions with the police overall just a lot more interesting and fun. Now I actually do from time to time make a quick save and just go to town trying to fight police and see if I can get away successfully. Then next up we do have vehicle handling, and this mod will do quite literally what the title suggests. By default in Cyberpunk, the cars feel like they are on ice, and although it seems like that was actually improved with one of the updates, they still need a lot of additional improvement. There are a ton of vehicle improvement or overhaul mods out there right now, but for me, vehicle handling is kind of the best counter to what we have by default in Cyberpunk. It's not the most popular mod out there, actually having under 1,000 downloads overall, but for me it is the best choice, in that it's going to make the vehicles feel a lot more realistic, a bit closer to some of those sim games out there, but not too much. It still has some arcade aspects. It's not a full-on recreation of the Forza driving system, but for me at least, I think this is the best vehicle handling mod. There are a lot of other options and it's going to be pretty subjective, but this made the vehicles feel like they just stuck to the ground a lot more. They would still spin out from time to time, but it made it so some of the turning actually had a wider angle, but you could also just move around in your vehicle more or weave in and out of traffic without spinning out spontaneously like you do by default. Mods like this are always going to be super subjective, but considering you may have not even heard of this one, considering how much less popular it is than some of the other options, I wanted to give it a shout out, as again, it is without a doubt my favorite of the available thus far. In particular with the bikes in the game, I actually think the improvements brought to the motorcycles are some of the best. Unfortunately though, this can't fix the physics aspect of it. If you crash into another vehicle or crash into a barrier, you'll still kind of cartoonishly bounce off, but you're still a ways away from modders fixing the physics of Cyberpunk 2077, unfortunately. But then we have what I would describe as a must download mod, and actually one that has been getting consistent and regular updates with gameplay patches. In Cyberpunk 2077 right now, outside of the lag, glitchiness, and crashing problems, there's also a ton of broken features. So certain mods for armors or weapons or even cyberware and a variety of perks in the game, most notably basically every capstone perk, so those final perks you could find once you max out the skill in a category, just don't work in that they will literally do nothing. The gameplay patches mod has been gradually fixing all of these, and even since I originally covered this, actually fixes more things now. Some of the more recent updates actually are really helpful if you're using a tech weapon build. The semiconductor and revamp perks just didn't work before, and these are actually huge upgrades for tech weapons, making it so you actually ignore enemies' armor and just deal more damage in general, so it makes that whole category a lot more viable and fun. It was already super viable, but now it's even better. One of the other recent additions is the Footloose mod on armor. The Footloose mod would stack to give you an evasion bonus, so enemies would miss their shots against you, except it just didn't work, but now with this, it will. And you can really see it. Just watch me stand in front of this guy and a good chunk of his shots just never hit me. This being with a full set of common Footloose mods on all of my armor pieces. It is pretty powerful. It makes it so monowire batteries will now work, making it so you deal more damage when you have a charge on your monowire. It'll gradually build a charge over time, and now that will carry even more damage against enemies. And in a similar vein, the much more popular Gorilla Arms with the Black Market battery. Basically doing the same thing in that Gorilla Arms will now deal more damage because the Black Market battery is actually working and applying the damage bonus. And even some things you may have not noticed noticed with skill bonuses. Certain skills will award you additional evasion or additional HP, and they just weren't working before. This is most notable in that it applies to nearly all of those capstone perks, and there's a ton of these. I've highlighted some in a past video, but it really makes a big difference overall. There's a bug in the game right now when loading a save, those capstone perks break, which basically means anytime you use them after you first get them. And for me, gameplay patches has become an easy must download, as it is quite literally fixing the game in quite a few major ways. Then we do have the appearance menu mod, and this is definitely getting more into the category of cheating than some of the more practical mods I've been showing you thus far. But the appearance menu mod has a couple of pretty unique features that I'm a huge fan of. One of the first ones is it gives you the option to change the appearance of your vehicles. This being any vehicle in the world, it actually also applies to NPCs, but it's really most valuable with vehicles. And this is most valuable in that you could actually save that appearance change. So let's say you call a vehicle that you own, cycle through the available appearances, and then save that option. From there on out, anytime you call the vehicle again, it'll actually go to that appearance. And some of these you can't typically get. Even if you buy or unlock every vehicle in the game, that particular version of it you will never be able to own. So it's a nice workaround for that. But even further, where this gets a lot more fun is you could spawn in functional companion-like characters. So basically, there is a giant list of NPCs and characters that appear in this game. And with this mod, you could spawn them next to you and have them functionally be a companion to you. They'll get in your car, they'll follow you around, and most importantly, they will fight on your side. And you can even set whether these guys are invulnerable or not if you just want to burn through waves of companions and keep having to spawn them in. I really like this because Cyberpunk 2077 does get pretty lonely. There's a glitch in the game where you could get Judy or Panam to follow you, and I actually really enjoyed my time doing that, and this gives you a workaround to make it so that isn't a glitch or bug. Of course, there's no questing or dialogue with these companions, they just kind of hang out with you, but oddly enough, it did really improve my enjoyment. They still feature the typical Cyberpunk AI, so it's not like they're going to be massive in fights, but it is helpful and nice to not be as lonely. Also, this mod actually adds in the ability to spawn in some boss fight enemies, like you could spawn in cyber psychos if you want some extra battles around the world, or even a fully functional and drivable Militech basilisk, and I'm definitely butchering the pronunciation of that one. This thing is a ton of fun to use. You literally have your own tank that you could use on the fly, drive around as your personal vehicle, and has all the functionality that it typically would feature in the main story mission, but now whenever or wherever you want to use it. And this, coupled with the fact that you could spawn in extra enemies for you to fight, can easily give you an extra half hour to hour of just messing around playing Cyberpunk 2077. Then we do have simple menu. Do you remember how before I was talking about how with Cyber Engine tweaks there was a ton of things you could do with console commands, a bunch of ways to improve your character, effectively cheat or improve yourself in the game? Well, simple menu will basically take almost all of that and just add it into a nice menu with a UI with buttons to click or even assigned to hotkeys, so you won't always need to have a big Excel document open or just memorize some of those commands. This gives you the ability to do all kinds of things. Spawn in basically any item in the game, and it has a nice UI that does break them down into sections, whether it be weapons, armors, cybernetics, or even mods for any of those things. Even just unlocking all of the crafting recipes available to you. You can totally overhaul and customize your perk points, attribute points, or even just the existing levels of your perks, skills, or attributes. Or even just go above all of that and manually add a perk to your character, so you'll just unlock that one perk. It has that teleporting functionality built in, so you can quickly and easily with this mod open up a list of locations and teleport to them right away. The most handy, of course, being V's apartment, V's mansion, or other notable places like Ripper Docks. Sometimes in Cyberpunk, after playing for a few hours, I don't feel like going to a fast travel point, and I could just quickly and easily get to a Ripper Dock to switch some stuff up. And even taking some of those cheating aspects to the next level, giving you things like a full-on no clip, so you could pan around the entire world, or even an ability to kill NPCs on site, give yourself God mode, remove the police system altogether. As the title of this one suggests, Simple Menu acts as a very easy to use and user-friendly menu that basically has all the cheats you could want. If you'd rather remember the console commands, you could probably ignore this altogether, but it's an easy download that has definitely upped my enjoyment of Cyberpunk 2077 quite a bit. Then we do have Save Editor, which is another one that does have a pretty self-explanatory title. Save Editor technically does all kinds of things. things. You could edit some of the items in your inventory, making them legendary, changing their stats, adjusting some of the quest items, or even actually adjusting your stats, whether it be attributes, your level, street cred. And although that's handy, a lot of that stuff at this point can be done much more easily with mods like Simple Menu when done in-game with those mods. A save editor is an external program you launch alongside the game. But what Save Editor does offer that not many other mods do is a full UI for you to edit and customize your character after you actually exit the customization screen. Hopefully this is fixed at some point, but for one reason or another in Cyberpunk, there are no barbers, there are no mirrors to look into to completely change your face. Once you exit this customization screen, you are set in that character unless you have a mod like Save Editor. This mod will give you a nice, quick and easy way to update your character in simple or major ways. Whether you want a full-on face transformation or maybe just giving them a tattoo, changing their hairstyle. Things that would likely happen to your character across the course of their entire journey as V, but for one reason or another, you can't do that in game right now. Then we do have better minimap. By default in Cyberpunk, driving and using the minimap is really hard simply because the minimap is too far zoomed in. So you've probably had this experience where you're driving around and just miss your turn because the waypoint, the marker will come up too quickly and you can't brake quickly enough. Better minimap is going to give you an option to zoom out your minimap both in the car and outside of a vehicle. These are two separate values, so you can keep your out of the car minimap the same, but make it so once you jump into a car, your minimap will be zoomed out quite a bit more. This is super handy with driving, as you will now see those turns coming up a lot quicker and can brake ahead of time. It's fairly small, but it's another one of those mods that I have downloaded and really never looked back on. I consistently use this one in my actual playthrough. There's a few different values, so you could have things zoomed out even a bit further, or even zoomed in if you want that experience instead, if you like missing turns consistently. But another really nice quality of life one is Untrack Quest. Actually, by the same mod author, super simple. What it'll do is make it so you can assign a hotkey to stop tracking your active quest. So no longer will you have the trail to that quest, the waypoint, as well as the quest description on your screen. It's really small, but I found myself using this a lot. A lot of times now I'm playing Cyberpunk just playing around with mods or trying to find some hidden stuff in Night City and not actively doing quests as much. This mod makes it nice to clean up some of that clutter, useless information that I'm not actively using, and it probably should have been there to begin with. It's another one I hope we get added at some point. And then lastly, another super quick and easy one, but another one that is a must download for me is instant disassembling and crafting. What this will do is make it so when you go to craft something or go to disassemble something in Cyberpunk, instead of it taking about 0.8 seconds, it'll now just be instant. One click of the mouse and you'll craft one version, meaning you could largely spam mouse clicks to craft way quicker. It would be nice if at some point we actually got sliding bars to bulk craft things at once, but this just makes the whole crafting experience in Cyberpunk way less of a headache. I would actually say more so than anything else in this video. If you are speccing into a crafting build, this will save you so much grief and frustration. I tried to do crafting without this mod and it was miserable. I literally wanted to pull my hair out because it took so long. Like to craft a certain weapon and in turn upgrade components to get there, it would take like 5 minutes of just sitting in the screen clicking, which was really dumb and not enjoyable at all. This mod will fix that thankfully, and it's another one that I think just about everyone should download and hopefully we'll see get fixed in the game at some point. Overall though, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this video. Those are what in my eyes are some of the top mods available right now. This not necessarily trying to overhaul or completely change the game, but improve it in fundamental ways. To me, these are some of the most complete mod options out right now that could, across an entire playthrough, give you a lot more enjoyment with Cyberpunk. Hopefully the next time I make a video like this, we'll move away from some of those quality of life or cheating based mods to more new feature mods. We're starting to see a lot of those pop up, as I talked about in one of my recent videos, but many of those are still in their infancy. So I think over the coming weeks and months, especially as the game itself gets fixed, we'll see the modding scene move further into that, adding in new things for Cyberpunk, not just trying to fix what is there already. As always, again, I thank you all for watching, but with that said, I hope to see you all next time. Later.